Okay, just celebrating the publication of my first academic peer-reviewed article in the journal Cosmos and History. It's a process philosophy, environmental philosophy journal by a professor who co-taught environmental philosophy at Harvard University in the 80s, 1985. And part of the peer review critique of my article was that I had not mentioned Milič Čapek, who cites Henry Bergson on music and the connection to physics. Excuse me. And sorry, I got some dust in my throat. So let me get some water. So anyway, I looked up the book that was recommended to me and searched it for music and it's turns out that Milič Čapek, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his name, but he was from Czechoslovakia. He was teaching at Carleton College in Minnesota, which is probably like the top-ranked private college in Minnesota. And he was teaching there the same time that he published this book. And it was also the same year that I was born in Minnesota. And it's the only real source that corroborates my claim about the importance of listening as auditory perception to properly understand physics as the foundation of reality. And so luckily the book is on archive.org because otherwise it's a very rare book, very expensive book to buy. And so when I was reading it, I did a blog post on it that I'll post in the video description. And he's kind of debating other physicists about what auditory perception means. And he's citing Bergson, who cites the Gestalt psychologist or psychophysiologist, about how when we listen to music, we listen to the melody as a Gestalt. And so the meaning of one sound is in relation to the root tonic or the fundamental pitch as part of the melody, which would be like the home tone. It sets the key, and it sets the emotional meaning of the phrase for the melody. And so when you listen to one sound, you are inherently anticipating what the phrase will be. And he's saying that this can only be understood in terms of time directly without any kind of spatial image. And that type of auditory perception is the best model or analogy to understand physics as pure time, with time being inherently dynamic with movement as a process. And so of course that's what my article is all about, but my new article, it's called non-commutative non-commutativity music as biophysics. I never actually pronounced the article title before. It's a mouthful. But so if I had cited Milič Čapek, it would have been a perfect fit for the article. But he does point out that the question remains is how to then extend this pure time into space-time itself with matter. And so that's what my article gets into in terms of the non-commutativity physics. And I'm mainly citing Professor Basil J. Hiley, with whom I've corresponded, and then Alon Khan on the music theory being non-commutative. And I had sent Alon Khan my music theory questions or whatever about his research. I never heard back from him. I think I sent him like 2 or 3 emails, and so then I figured, well, I'm not going to keep trying to pester him or whatever. And of course, I mean, he's French. I'm writing in English, but he's fluent in English too. But I'm not a mathematician, so he really has no reason to respond to me. But he makes the same point as Milič Čapek, that the truth of music actually has a geometric dimension that's essentially 0, or it's less than any positive number, with the discrete rational ratios being more dense than the space-time continuum because of the non-commutativity of the pitch as listening. And so in terms of the physics creating space-time, then he gets into the non-commutativity is the inverse of the Dirac operator, and so you're dealing with the discrete dynamics of the quantum algebra inside the square root. So basically, when you're converting to the operators, then you're converting to a classical physics using the space-time continuum of irrational numbers. But when you're using the matrices for quantum algebra, then essentially the amplitude has a like a negative imaginary number in the exponential, and so that's what the negative frequency is. And so obviously I don't do the math. I'm not a physicist. I just kind of study the philosophy of it and listen to their videos, and but I'm just pointing out that Milič Čapek was like, well, how would space-time be created from this truth of auditory perception being pure time? And of course, if you listen to the Eastern physicists, they would say, well, actually, space-time is an illusion. And that's what Ramana Maharshi taught. He was a non-dual yogi master, a jnana yoga master from the first half of the 20th century. And so he's considered like one of the greatest living Indian yoga masters of the modern times. And his argument was, well, the whole physical universe that you can see, it's not eternal. And since it's temporary, it's not the truth of reality. And the only truth of reality is this formless awareness that you can only listen to. And that's what he called Muna Samadhi, which is translates as silence samadhi, and he said that that's the highest samadhi that exists in Indian yoga. And it's this eternal process of listening as the truth of reality, as a formless awareness, and the source of the I thought. So that's pretty much it, but just want to thank everybody for their feedback and comments over the years. It's been really interesting, and so we'll keep trying to do the meditation and see what happens.